Hi fellas, Ben back again. Um, I've installed the cam on my motorcycle, and I haven't really taken a video because I want to be doubly sure about everything that I did. And everything worked out well. No hiccups, not much of hiccups. And now we are going to be installing the same on Mohan's motorcycle. Hi Mohan. Yeah, so the cam on his, I got two cams from England, one for mine and one for his bike, and we're just going to be doing it step by step on his bike. So I'll run you through all the steps, very short and crisp steps, so that you can just follow this video and get the camshaft installed on your bikes as well. Yeah, so I'll see you in a bit. We are starting off with getting the tank out, the seats out first, then the tank out, fuel pump and all of that disconnected, and then once we get to the engine, I'll get back to you guys. Always remove the tank and place it on a soft surface. The fuel pump should rest on something like a cushion. 3 bolts, the same size, 2 for the ignition coil and 1 for the air injection system. So all 3 removed. Loosen these fellas. We'll have to move them out of place. On the other side, Mohan has removed the timing cover. Timing. Sorry about it. There you go. Timing cover, and then one small 8 mm bolt for this. Was this open already like that? Oh, okay. Yeah. And then removing 10 millimeters. Keep track of this. These bolts are different lengths. They have to go into the same hole again. No big deal. There's just about 8 bolts, so you can place it like that, or you can have a cardboard paper cutout, draw the template and shove the bolts in where you think these bolts go. Yep. So loosened all the bolts to 8 millimeters. 2 more 8 millimeters for the valve covers, and then the rest are all 10 millimeters, but they are different lengths, and some of them have washers, some of them don't. And then what you need to do is you open the crank cover, not the crank cover, but crank shaft axis cover, and then you also open this up so that you can see the marks on the flywheel. You loosen the timing chain tensioner bolts and the spring loading bolt. Well, that's the sequence in which things have been arranged. All the bolts that have been pulled out of the head, they've been arranged in the right sequence. Oh, we need to loosen these 2 bolts as well. Well, this is just on the top. Once you have the valve covers open, you will also find 2 additional bolts, one here and one here. These 2 fellows are also 8 millimeters. You have to open them as well to be able to pry the rocker cover out. 2 prying points, one over here underneath, right over here, right underneath you have a prying point, and one on the front. Any other way of doing this is not going to work. You really need something rock solid, something that doesn't flex, for you to be able to pull out the covers. The sealant that these fellows have used from the factory, it's super solid and super hard. It is crazy hard to pry with any other regular tool. So I would suggest that you get yourself a tire lever. The best thing to do is have this do the job for you instead of a straight wedging tool. I would say this is way better. This is made for this kind of a job. The prying point, and well, what you need to keep in mind is there are 2 dowel pins. Dowel pins are things that keep the head, the rocker cover and the engine head in place without twisting and warping. So they are like additional points of reinforcement. And when you lift this, be careful that you don't, if the dowel pins like that, one's over here, if they stay in place, good to go. If they are attached to the top, that is the rocker cover, you have to be extra careful about that. One more over here. Yep, both of them sticking to the engine head. Nothing to worry. Move the rocker cover. All's well. Now if you see Mohan's bearings, cam bearings have pitting. All these cam bearings have pitting. Can you see them? All these fellas have pitting. This is what is making the noise. Small tiny marks. This could also be because of the camshaft. The camshaft might have pitting. Oh, plenty of pitting. There you go. You see that? All this, all this, and this is a byproduct of some kind of dust entering the engine. Some kind of grime and dust entering the engine, and yeah, even Mohan's decompressor has gone for a toss. There is no lateral play in this one. A mild play, but that's all right. Even this is good. What are these called?
Rollers.
Rollers, even the rollers are good. Both the rollers good, the rocker is good. No play, but the cam bearings have pretty high pitting on them. This is very, very sad that you have so much pitting on these cam bearings. This is sad. You see all these marks, these dotted marks? That's not supposed to be the case. No glazing, but some pitting. Timing plug out, whatever you want to call this. Just by force. Pulled it out by force, nothing much. Now I'm going to be aligning the camshaft, and then we're going to open the cam sprocket bolts. So that would be top dead center, showing T of the compression stroke, and then there are these two lines on the cam sprocket that you have to mate, or you have to see to it that they are parallel to the engine head. So the engine head and the two lines on the cam sprocket should be parallel and T showing up. This would simply mean this is top dead center and both the valves are closed, and yeah, we can double check this through this inspection sight hole. So the line and the T, right in between, is where you should have these lines and T come up. And going in with a size 10 socket. That's a 10 millimeter that's come out, and then again rotating the crank to access the other one. This time you have to be very careful not to drop this locking plate or locking washer. What is it called, Mohan? What would it be called? Locking, whatever locking mechanism. Just to see to it that both the bolts are secure. Yeah, be very careful. This needs a sensitive hand. We got rid of this locking plate with two bolts. Now the sprocket can be pulled out. But before that you need to get this circlip, half circlip. Have the recording later.
Okay.
So what you do is you take a small flathead and then gently press into this hole. You'll have the circlip come out. I don't know what to call this, but it's more like a half style circlip to hold the camshaft in place. There you go. டாப் டெட் சென்டர் தெரியும் டைமிங் செயினில் மார்க் பண்ணணும். எல்லாம் பைத்தியம் முடிச்சிடும். Yeah, remove the timing chain tensioner, and so with the timing chain tensioner removed, you'll have enough slack on the timing chain. What you can do is you can get your top dead center, the ignition stroke, and what you can do is mark the top dead center on the timing chain as well. So it's simple. The ignition stroke is the compression stroke is these two lines parallel to the head and the T mark showing on top. Just take a permanent marker, put a dot or make a mark on the cam sprocket and the chain, just so that you know which is top dead center on the timing chain. Very important, very, very important is that you get this done so that you know you have a point of reference. Now what you need to do is the most important part. When you pull the sprocket out of the cam, be extra careful not to let the timing chain slip from the crankshaft. If it slips from the crankshaft, it's going to fall down and it's going to bunch up, and you'll have a tough time getting that bunch to free up. It's going to be a nightmare. This is the most tricky part of the installation, is to get the timing chain out and up without really dropping it even a little bit into the engine. So be very careful about this. Be super ultra careful when you do this part. So now pushing this cam to the front, pulling the sprocket out. Being very careful. You can lift the cam from the back. You'll have to release the sprocket from the timing chain. Slowly, steadily from one side. And keep generating that upward pressure. Down. Keep generating that upward pressure. குட்டி ஸ்ப்ராக்கெட் கீழே, அதனால் அது மிஸ் ஆகிடுச்சுன்னா போயிடும். Or let me hold the timing chain for you. Okay, you try and see what you can do. Lift the cam, lift the cam. கேம் வெளியில் வருதா அந்த பக்கம்? வெயிட் போட்டுடலாம். நான் பிடிச்சிட்டு இருக்கேன், நீ ஜிப் டைப் போடு, மேலே வா. ஸோ தட்ஸ் த பெஸ்ட் திங் டு டூ, புட் அ ஜிப் டை. கரெக்டாக மேலே, ஒரு சைடில் இல்லை. நானும் வந்து தப்பு பண்ணேன். Done. So that's the timing chain held in place. Now we'll have to remove the sprocket from the front and the camshaft from the back. Got the sprocket out. Slowly pulling the... Sorry brother. Got the cam out. Even Mohan has a problem with his either auto decompressor. His auto decompressor has no return. No. While you have it parallel to the ground, there should be return, auto return. Does it return? Yeah, there you go. So this thing has to go back on its own while you have it parallel to the ground. So there's absolutely no tension on the spring as well. Doesn't move a millimeter. This has to slowly close. It should only be open like that when the motor is up and running, upwards of 1500 RPM, because of centrifugal force. This is a spring that has gone for a toss again. Two cams with the same problem. There's a lot of pitting marks on his cam. Pitting, a lot of pitting, nothing else but pitting. Good, no marks on the engine head. The engine head has absolutely no marks. Some glazing, but glazing at best. No pitting. Most important thing is to have the timing chain held up vertically. Do not let it bunch up. I let it drop a little. It bunched up. Two or three of the teeth, they bunched up, and for me to get it out was a nightmare of an episode. So yeah, I will want all of you to be careful. Get this done first, and only then go about pulling out your camshafts. So another thing that you will encounter with the tech cam installation is you have this pin over here. It's more like a locating pin. When you put the sprocket, the cam sprocket, onto the camshaft of the stock camshaft, things slide in really well. I mean, there's absolutely no gap between the sprocket and the camshaft. Everything is lined up really well. This happens because of this taper over here. This taper has been machined intentionally for this to slide in. But with the tech camshaft, so you guys watch. Oh wow, it went in smoothly onto Mohan's, but I had a very difficult time getting the sprocket to sit on mine. Minor machining faults, I would say micron level machining faults, or the compatibility between my sprocket and my tech cam wasn't good enough. But on Mohan's, this is as smooth as it gets. Wow. Better than the stock one. Yeah, so nothing to worry. What I did, because I had some difficulty putting this onto this, I first kept it like that. There was a good gap between the sprocket and the camshaft. I shoved in the bolts, I tightened them evenly, I pressed it once, twice, thrice, pulled it out, put it back in three times for things to seat well. Then is when I took it to the engine. But on Mohan's, nothing to worry. Straightforward, easy installation, piece of cake. So that's Mohan working with a pick, a guitar pick, or a scraping tool of sorts, a plastic scraping tool. Always, never a metal blade. No shaving blades and things like that. They may be thin, but if they create a dent, they create a mark. That mark will be enough for oil to seep out and permanently damage the surface. So be very careful what kind of tools you use to get rid of all the old gasket. And I used this fella to get rid of all the surface gasket on the engine head. Done and dusted. Now for the cam goes in. Going in with the cam now. So what you need to do is place the cam lobes downwards. So if you guys can see, this is the orientation in which the cam should go in.
Okay.
So the best way you can do it, first put the chain on the sprocket and then try and place the sprocket onto the camshaft. Job done. Timing marks aligned, all three parallel, all three marks, that is on the camshaft and the cam sprocket, all parallel. The locating pin and the sprocket pressed together, and T on top. And the mark that you made on the timing chain and the sprocket, that is the one that I made with a marker, all aligned. Everything aligns well. Now all that I need to check is if I get a T mark in the sight window. Perfect. Perfect. The half circlip that we had put back in place. Now the cam will not move. Shoving in the first bolt. Mohan on the bolt element area. the order in which this goes, this is like a reinforcement locking plate. It's on the left hand side of the T-mark, not on the right hand side. I think you can do it on the right hand side as well, but somehow the factory had it on the left hand side, so we are going in that same pattern, that same direction. Do not fully tighten it, just have it tight enough so that this doesn't stick out a little too much, wherein you have difficulty rotating the sprocket, and that's good to go. A little more maybe, just so that this reinforcement plate doesn't move about when we rotate the crankshaft. Start with
நான் தூக்கிறேன். எடுக்கட்டா?
2-3 திருப்பி ஏர் போட்டுங்க.
ஓகே. போதும்.
Going in with the next bolt. Okay, now time for the torque wrench. To have the right tool makes a big difference when you're dealing with engine components. Anything outside of the engine, I have years of experience tightening, and I know what is the torque that could affect and that could not have any effect. But with the engine components that are spinning like crazy, you need to be very, very clear about the tolerances and the torque. So the video that Tech has made to install the camshaft says 11 Newton meters on these bolts. So how you go about doing that on a torque wrench that is like this is going up on the value. Once you get it to align at 11 over there, all you need to do is get 0 Newton meters over here so that you know it's a perfect 11. Close, and then hold the crankshaft in place while you do this so that the flywheel doesn't rotate. There you go, that's about it. That's
super.
Locked it in place. Moving on to the other side. There, quick get to that. And the slip on the click, that's about it. That's what they mean.
Super.
So yeah, we'll have a better point just to hold the Well, that's the gasket sealant that has been applied. What I applied is called Permatex. Permatex is a brand that Mohan recommended. and I used that, but I had a small tube with me, and I kind of exhausted my um, uh, sealant on my machine, and hence Mohan had to get these Royal Enfield ones. They are again very good engine gasket sealants, the stock gasket sealants, and so I had to apply that. But the problem with having something like this is it doesn't have a nozzle, so I would highly recommend it for the guys who want to try this on by yourselves. Please go out and get a good nozzle, something that will fit this particular tube, and then use that to get a nice bead like that, something as sharp as that. On the other side, I'm sorry, I lost. So we initially used a bead for a decent distance. I mean, I covered one half of the surface with the nozzle, and then we lost the nozzle. So I had to go in with the flat side of the tube and make a gasket. Well, you try it with a decent nozzle, so that you get an even bead of gasket sealant throughout the surface. Well, now the rocker cover going back, so the right orientation. Take it as high up as you can, and then locate the dowels. Locating dowels. And so once you're sure that this is sitting on the dowels is when you kind of press things. Before that, don't start pressing things. There you go. So that one is seated. Now I'm looking at this side, seated. One nice push. Done. Yeah. So if you see a small bit of sealant come out of this, don't be worried. When you start cranking down the bolts, there's going to be a lot that's going to come out of this. All these crevices. And what you need to find is an even bead sticking out. Even, uneven doesn't really matter, but there should not be a gap anywhere. You should see some sealant sticking out throughout the length of the mating surface. But one thing for sure that one has to keep in mind when swapping out engine components, that is when you have new components thrown into an old engine, you have to be very, very careful about how they bed in, because you're asking for uneven wear and tear. The moment you throw in a new part, there's new tolerances, new clearance, and how the engine will respond to that is a pretty strange thing. And yeah, so one has to be very careful and not push things.